100 in Bitcoin. And this is particularly important because everybody's been very concerned about the tariffs and what this means. And so I want to go over two scenarios with you. I want to talk about what we see happening with the dollar and some key levels that we need to watch. I'm also going to reveal to you what I have been telling my Real Market Wolf community here on X, which, by the way, it's a free community. You can just go to my homepage, it's pinned there, or you can look at a lot of my X posts lately. And I've been placing the text at the top that you can click on that will also take you there, and you can join that group. It's free. I give you the point-to-point moves in the market. I post usually twice a day, sometimes just once, but usually twice a day. I'll give you a morning update and an evening update. And, you know, it's a valuable tool if you want to watch the market. And I always repost from that group to show people, hey, I told you this was going to happen. And just like yesterday evening, I let everybody know in my group that yes, Bitcoin was going to be coming down. And we have gone even really surpassed those levels. But I'm not surprised because I also warned my group about the volatility pattern that we are in right now. And I've given them the levels to watch specifically for that volatility pattern. So I'm going to reveal to you all tonight the line of last resort, not the volatility pattern. I want to keep some things in-house for the people that actually join my community and want to talk to me, and we have conversations more freely. I get more feedback there. It's very difficult on X when I'm posting. I found that perhaps I'm being throttled a bit at this point, so it's just something that I just feel like there's better interaction there. So this segment I'm probably going to try to do every Sunday. If I can't do it every Sunday, I'm at least going to do this segment once a month, like a monthly close type situation. And so we'll just do coffee, and we will sit here with the wolf pack and we'll chat. So the two narratives, I'll just go ahead and get started on this now. Let's go back and rewind the clock to 2018 with President Trump, okay? Trump's tariffs, when he put those on, I guess it was maybe about February, right? We saw a 35% drop in the market that February. Now, it was at $286. The S&P 500 was sitting at roughly $286, and it came down to $253. But then we saw a rally up of 16%. And price, nominal price, it went higher. It went all the way up to $297 after that big correction. Okay? But then, that rally was between August and September. But then we had a 20% drop off from October to December. And then, after that 20% drop from October to December, which was pretty nasty, we rallied again another 45% from that low, and the nominal price of the S&P 500 got to $340 a share. So one thing we do need to keep in mind, though, about back then, yes, there were tariffs, just like we're having to face right now, but they were also beginning to raise interest rates at that point. So now we're at 2024. Trump is elected. This is, after a huge post-COVID rally in the market. Tariffs are in play again. But this time, interest rates are being cut, just like I said before. So we also have, though, which is unique, is we have a major downturn in emerging markets. And the reason we're having this big downturn in emerging markets, according to gentlemen like David Levinson, which I suggest you follow him if you are not, the reason we're having this big downturn in emerging markets is because a lot of this money that was pumped into these markets during COVID it would typically that would have been used for things like infrastructure, and then you would have had further production. But this time it just was basically trying to pad and keep things and paper over things, essentially. So now these emerging markets are struggling. And, as the emerging markets begin to implode, the dollar is going to go up because this is the kind of place of last resort as far as trying to preserve your currency. So the scenarios I'm thinking about with this is that one scenario is that the market drops 13 to 19% on the S&P 500, and we would test the post-COVID levels. That would be where we broke out before on the S&P 500. And I wouldn't say that's just because of tariffs, but because if the dollar confirms a breakout from the $111.28 level, that's the level you need to watch, $111.28. If it confirms a breakout from there, the S&P 500 and Bitcoin are going to get hit hard. They're going to get hit hard, no doubt about it. So spoiler alert, I believe the dollar will test that level soon. I believe we're going to test that level. We're not at 111.28 yet, but I'm pretty much certain we will be. I do believe we're going to test that level. So that does mean probably over the next week, more downside, perhaps slowing and tapering off on Bitcoin. Perhaps we begin to chop into a bear flag. I'll post levels in my X community, so join us there if you're not a part of that. But on the S&P 500, it would probably lead to larger drop. Now, even if the dollar did break up, I wouldn't really be concerned on Bitcoin unless we saw a close below around 85K. And again, for the precise level, join my group on X. It's free. Just go to my homepage, click on it. It's pinned there for my community. I do chart updates daily there. Now, I said I would reveal that level to you. Of course, I'm not going to reveal that Bitcoin volatility pattern to you. I'm encouraging you to join my group so you can get that information. We have not broken, though. I will tell you this. We have not broken yet, as far as I know. The last time I checked the charts, we have not yet broken the base of that structure with that volatility pattern. I would only despair if I saw Bitcoin close below somewhere around 73 to 70K. If I saw that, I would be really concerned at that point that the halving cycle just wasn't going to play out, and the market would be going into distribution at that point on Bitcoin. So it's hard for me to believe that, though, to be honest. It's hard for me to believe that because I get the sense that we're going to have major pullback, but, things could bounce. So this maybe gets into scenario 2 a little bit here, and I'll try and clarify as along the way. So in scenario 2, the dollar does break out from $111.28. And if it holds a back test at that point, we might be in for 1,000 days of pain. So like what I'm saying is, in the short term, we break up and we hit 111. Bitcoin has some major moves down, but it would hold. And then we would see the halving pattern play out and just boom, we would skyrocket, right? And that would be the short term. Because in the long term, I do believe that the dollar is going to rip higher. I believe that's Trump's goal. And then with the tariffs as well, yeah, we're going to be moving manufacturing back here if he's serious about that. Now, keep in mind the tariffs could come down. This could be purely a negotiating tool as well, so the tariffs could come down, and that'll play into this a little bit. But mostly what we're looking at, the larger factors beyond the noise of the tariffs, is really what's happening in the emerging markets and what's happening with the dollar. And so that's really kind of what we need to focus on. So we could be in for 1,000 days of pain, though, if we did have a breakout. So what I'm telling you right now is that Bitcoin and the S&P 500 have to hold key levels. And if they don't hold those key levels and we get confirmation of that dollar breakout, it's possible that's all she wrote. And we're moving into the 1,000 days of pain. Now, there is a point where maybe the dollar could still be rejected after that breakout. I think it's around the $120 level somewhere. I'll post the chart specifically in my community so you can see that. And then, so maybe we get a really drag down on Bitcoin and people fall into despair. Maybe we see the little meter go from, I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's not on extreme greed anymore, but we've been there. We've been in extreme greed, believe me. Even when the meter come down a little bit. And to be honest, and what I've been telling my community's known this for 5 weeks. They've known this for 5 weeks, that the levels they needed to watch on Bitcoin, where we're going to come down to. And they've been aware for much longer of the fact that we have been experiencing high chop on Bitcoin, that we had to come down, that we have to come down, that's the only way we can rip higher on this halving cycle. If we want to see the 130K to 150K, we've got to clear some space. That's just is what it is. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm feeling right now. That's what I've been considering. I think that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions, and maybe I wasn't clear on things, I guess you could post them in comments below. The one thing I will say is that I think after that 1,000 days of pain, when we experience it, that everything is just going to rip again, that we are going to move into just an amazing time. I really think that President Trump, as far as the economy goes, I really think that President Trump wants to strengthen the dollar so that we can afford goods again. Also wants to bring back manufacturing. So this could kind of hurt that a bit with the tariffs. So we could have some fluctuation, some chop. I don't know how much volatility we're looking at. And then ultimately, I think at the end of the day, when people can afford things again, we'll be moving in towards the end of his presidency. And I think we'll also begin to see a rip up in the market again. So he'll be able to have his cake and eat it too. He'll be known as the people's president that restored the ability for you to potentially be able to own a home, afford a vehicle, afford an apartment, and he'll also be known as the president towards the end of his presidency that was the stock market president again. So I think these are the scenarios we're looking at. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Share your thoughts below. Tell me what you think. I'm going to wrap that up here. Be sure to join my X community so you can see the charts point to point and you know exactly what's coming weeks in advance of anybody else. We'll see you next time.